Hey Moxie, what's going on? I'm here to talk to you guys about what we've got going on for HomeWOD day number 37, okay? There are two pieces going on. The first one is our long metabolic conditioning piece for the week, all right? It's 6 rounds per time of a 400-meter run and 24 dumbbell hang, clean, and jerks, okay? These are power clean and jerks, and we're looking at a lot of reps here. The 6 rounds of 24 reps is going to come out to 144 total. So that's going to be a really important player in the workout today. All right. Now, with any workout that we talk about, whenever we have lots of running, and we've talked about this before, it's really important to establish a consistent pace and hold that consistent pace throughout the entirety of the workout, right? We don't want to go out super hot, particularly on a workout like this, where we have 6 rounds and then have to suffer the consequences of that choice for, 20-ish minutes, right? The remainder of the workout, all right? So we certainly want to hold a consistent pace, but the more important point that I want to talk about today is our hang, clean, and jerks and how we can really minimize our effort on those, all right? I know for myself, the part of the hang, clean, and jerk with a dumbbell that really gets challenging whenever I get fatigued is the push press, all right? The clean stays pretty easy the whole time, but as I get tired, I'll sometimes start to slow down in my overhead press, or I'll start to get a little bit unbalanced with my weight shifting forward or my weight shifting back, all right? If we can minimize those deviations and keep that overhead press fast, it's really gonna minimize our overall effort that we use for those hang, clean, and jerks, okay? So that's what we wanna be thinking about, is keeping that overhead press fast, and to that through the entire movement. So certainly on the clean, since we probably don't need a ton of power to get it from the hip to the shoulder, we probably don't want to come up to our toes there. But then even in this push press or the push jerk up to overhead, it's not going to be a particularly heavy weight, at least, relative to what we would do with 2 hands. So we probably don't need a ton of hip drive there either. Certainly give it enough to drive that thing to overhead, but don't necessarily feel like your feet need to leave the ground or anything like that. As much of a connection as we can maintain with the ground is really going to keep the effort that we use on those hang, clean, and jerks to a minimum. Okay, so to play with that stuff, guys, try to keep those clean and jerks moving well. All right, just as a note on the workout, there is a 24-minute time cap there. And even if you're not, too close to finishing, that's totally fine today. That is a pretty aggressive time cap. Okay, now moving on from that, the other piece that we have going on is our barbell piece, all right? There's a video coming out on Instagram here in a few minutes that's gonna talk about just the overall kind of view on the barbell stuff this week. But I wanna reiterate one of the points that I brought out about the piece that's going down today. Is every 2 minutes for 7 sets, we're gonna do 3 power snatches with a 1-second pause in that catch position, right? So whenever we get up to overhead, we're gonna hang out there for about a second and stand. And then after those 3 power snatches, we have 5 overhead squats. No tempo there, just cranking through 5 reps. We're gonna start at 55% of our snatch backs and build up to something between 65 and 70%, just depending on how we're feeling that day, all right? Now, one of the things that I do want to emphasize here that I talked about in that other video as well is the importance of being able to generate a stable shoulder position quickly whenever we're catching that power snatch, right? So catching, kind of pressing our thumbs back into the bar, pressing our shoulder blades up slightly, that's gonna be really important here. And one way that we can drill that before we actually start adding weight is to do some high hang muscle snatches just with a PVC pipe before we get into it, right? So I have my dowel right here. And for that, we're just gonna dip down slightly, kind of keeping that chest upright. We're gonna drive up to overhead and then punch up into that bar. And as we do that whole movement, right, we wanna keep pushing our thumbs kind of into the bar. That's gonna generate that external rotation in our shoulder throughout that entire movement. And it's gonna get us to that finish position in a stable way, all right? So play with that a little bit during warm-up. And then once we hit that, it will help groove those movements and those positions whenever we get to the power snatches, right? The other thing that I do want to mention is the non-barbell scaling option, okay? If we don't have access to a barbell, but still want to work some of these same ideas, the piece for today is going to be every 2 minutes for 7 sets. We're going to do 3 kneeling jumps and 5 pistols on each leg, all right? We've talked about pistols before. We're just trying to work some challenging squatting mechanics, get a little bit of strength work in there. But the kneeling jump today is going to be our main focus, all right? That's just gonna start with us sitting back on our heels, shins flat on the ground, and then from there jumping up to a standing position. okay? This is really going to target hip extension, an aggressive hip extension at that, by taking our calves and feet out of the jump, right? The only thing that can generate force there is going to be our hips. So this is certainly going to target that, but this can also be super transferable to our Olympic lifts if whenever we stand, or where we would catch an Olympic lift, right? It's just going to increase that transferability and help us to groove some of these mechanics that we need to maintain. Okay, so play with this stuff, guys. Hope you enjoy training. Log those results on HomeWOD, and I will see you all tomorrow.